Alright, welcome back everyone to part 2 of my Ghost Collection series. So this time around we'll be looking into the sophomore effort by Ghost, the infamous album title that nobody can seem to pronounce, and that is Infestissumam. Now before that album came out, it had 2 singles. The first one is this one here. This one is Secular Haze by Ghost. The B-side features an ABBA cover called I'm a Marionette. It is worth noting to the Foo Fighters and Nirvana fans out there that Dave Grohl actually plays drums on the ABBA cover, and indeed he produced it as well, so that's cool. This actually is a very special copy because it's fully signed by the entire band. As I mentioned in part 1 of my series, Papa Emeritus II's signatures are getting increasingly harder to find. So it is actually quite nice that the entire band has signed it. On the back is the track listing as well as information on the single. Now this single came in 2 main colors. This one is the black vinyl edition. The black vinyl edition was limited to 1,000 copies. And there was also a clear vinyl edition, which is a much more expensive and harder to find record than this one is. That one was limited to like 200 copies, I think it was. Even though this one is more common, this one is still a very expensive record to get. Normally you have to cough up $100 to get it. But I managed to get it around the time that it was released, so I didn't actually pay all that much for it. Now, if you're looking to get the single and you're looking to get it cheaply, there's also a CD version which is a lot more affordable. It is a shame that this single is so hard to find now because a lot of people seem to agree with me that the mix on Secular Haze on this track is a lot better on the single than it is on the final album. And I think it just sounds a lot less brick-walled, a lot more clear, so I think just the mix on it is a lot better. At first I did not like Secular Haze as a song. I actually kind of hated it back when it came out. Actually both of these songs debuted in December 2012 when Papa Emeritus II took the stage. So when I heard them back then I hated them, and it sort of took away all my hope for the new Ghost LP that was in the pipeline back then. But when this single came out, it sort of drew me back into Ghost and sort of gave me a lot more hope for the new LP back then. This one is Year Zero. This one came after Secular Haze, and when this single dropped, it definitely grabbed my attention for Ghost yet again. This single came in 2 different versions. The European one came out on translucent green vinyl, but this is the American version, which is the picture disc edition. This one was also around the time that Ghost had to use the Ghost BC thing because of copyright reasons, and so for that reason that's why it has the BC on there. The only gripe I have really about this single is that the B-side is just so ridiculous. It's literally just Year Zero played backwards. In fact, if you look at the B-side written on there, that's literally Year Zero spelled backwards. I think that's just kind of weird because, like, if I wanted to listen to Year Zero backwards, I mean, I could just put reverse on my turntable and hear it backwards like that. I don't understand. They could have put like La Mantra Mori or something like that, which has never been released on vinyl, by the way. They could have put that on there instead and I would have been a lot happier. But yeah, very cool artwork on the single as well. And Year Zero, I don't say this just because of the single, but I just think it's one of the best Ghost songs out there, really. It's very epic, very climatic as well, and I think it's just a very, very amazing track. Now the European one on green vinyl sells for a lot more money, usually around $60 to $70, so definitely not cheap for a single. But recently there's a company called King's Road Merch that has been selling what I pretty sure is leftovers from pre-orders from 2013. They're selling it for around $12. So if you're looking to get this single, I suggest you head over to King's Road Merch and check out their site, and you'll find this one for around $12. So definitely one to get a hold of if you are a diehard collector of Ghost. And so with that being said, now we're going to move on to the actual album itself. The album, as far as the vinyl edition of the album goes, there was two different versions, the American version as well as the European edition. I'm going to start out with the American one. So here it is, Infestissumam by Ghost, the American vinyl pressing. This is the first press of the American one anyway. Arrived at my doorstep around the time that the album was released. And another thing about this is that even though this is not a shitty pressing, that is to say it's not terrible, however, it's also not nearly as good as the European one is. Not by a long shot. I mean, and I'll go into why. First of all, the front cover here, it has BC on it, so that sucks because that's not their name. It's just their name is Ghost. It's not Ghost BC, so that sucks right off the bat. Has a parental advisory sticker, and also the album artwork is actually zoomed in, so you don't actually get the entire album artwork on the front there. So that is not good. Now this one has a shrink wrap on it. I've never taken it off, but I do have a copy here that has the shrink wrap taken off, so I can show you the inside. The inside literally just has a picture of the band and lyrics, and that is it. So that's it for the inside. Now the best thing this pressing has going for it, I would say, is that the inside has a very cool vinyl color on a very nice translucent red vinyl. So I think the vinyl color is definitely the best thing this edition has going for it, no doubt about it. It does look quite stunning. Now, that is pretty much it for the American vinyl edition of this. However, as I mentioned, the European one is hell of a lot better. So here's the European one. My copy happens to be signed by the entire band, which is very nice. As you can see on the front there, the album artwork is not zoomed in. You get the full album artwork. It doesn't have BC on it or a parental advisory sticker, so that's nice. On the back it has the same picture as the American one did, so that's good. But when you look inside is where it gets to be a bit really drastically different from the American one. So first of all, it has a picture of the band as well as some information and a crucifix as well. And here's where it becomes a lot better than the American one. This one actually has a freaking booklet inside of the gatefold. It has artwork for every single song on Infestissumam, starting out with the title track and leading into the second song there. The artist that did these artworks is actually from Poland. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I just know it starts with a Z, but I don't really know how to pronounce it because he's from Poland. When I spoke to Omega about him, he said that he was an architect, which I definitely do believe him, because this is some pretty damn detailed artwork here. This one's for Year Zero and for Goulet Zombie Queen. Just very, very nicely done artwork that you can stare at for a long, long time. You know, this one here for Body and Blood is actually inspired by Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. If you guys are familiar with that album cover, you can see the similarities there. And here's the last two for Depth of Satan's Eyes as well as Monstrous Clock. Yeah, just very, very nicely done album artwork on the inside gatefold here that the American one, just for some reason or another, does not have. But it doesn't end there. Next, instead of having a plain white sleeve inside, you actually get a proper custom inner sleeve, done by the same artist, by the way. And the back has lyrics. Now, the Scandinavian editions of Infestissumam come in a variety of different colors. This one is the yellow vinyl edition. But there was also a black one, a clear one, a purple one, an orange one, and more recently they're going to do a splatter edition as well. But for me, my favorite is definitely the yellow vinyl edition, which came out a few months after the actual album came out. I think it was May of 2013 that this one came out. So yeah, it looks really, really nice, and I think it fits the album artwork pretty well as well. This one I got it imported from Sweden back in 2013, and it remains unplayed as well. Now, Infestissumam from a musical standpoint, I think, is definitely a step up in Ghost's songwriting game. Features just a lot more advanced stuff, such as choirs in the title track, much more complicated, progressive music, songwriting going on here. I think they also became a little bit more daring, because on Opus Eponymous, they didn't deviate too much into the happy sounding stuff. But on this one, they just went all out. A lot of songs on here actually sound pretty happy, such as Idolatry, Goulet, Zombie Queen, Secular Haze. And even though it does have some sinister tracks, such as Year Zero on it, a lot of the LP does have a very happy sounding tone to it. And so for that reason, a lot of fans, when this came out, a lot of fans didn't like it. I've always sort of been kind of in the middle about it. I didn't love it at first, but it grew on me. But I think really the worst thing this album has going for it is its production. The production isn't nearly as good as the production on Opus Eponymous, or even on Meliora, the newest LP by Ghost. But that being said, apart from the production, I think that this LP is really, really brilliant. Even though it's not my favorite Ghost album, I think it's definitely an important one in their discography, and definitely has a lot of good tracks on it as well. If you're looking to get this album, I really do recommend getting the Scandinavian vinyl edition, even though it is a bit more pricier than the American one. The Scandinavian ones usually sell for around $40 to $50 at the very least because of import costs and that sort of thing. But it's definitely worth it. I just think that the Scandinavian one is definitely how the album was meant to be released. Definitely the ultimate edition and the ultimate experience as well. So yeah, Infestissumam by Ghost. Definitely want to get a hold of. The very last one I'm going to show you is kind of like an accompanying EP, really. This one was released November of 2013, and this one was right after the Infestissumam album, but it was recorded in the same session. This is If You Have Ghost EP, which is a very well-known EP, and it basically has covers on it, such as the ABBA cover that I mentioned earlier, Rocky Erickson, If You Have Ghost cover, Crucified by Army of Lovers, as well as Waiting for the Night by Depeche Mode. It also has, as the last track, a live version of Secular Haze, which I think is interesting because they never play Secular Haze live anymore these days. So that might be why they included it on there, as sort of like, well, we're not going to do this song live anytime soon, so just so we can hear it live, On the front there, it's also signed by the band, by pretty much all the band except for the drummer. So yeah, I couldn't find him when I was looking for them, so that's why the drummer did not sign it. On the back has track listing as well as information on the EP. Now this EP actually came on my doorstep a few days before its release date, so it is definitely without a doubt a first press. And this one is on black vinyl. Another thing that's worth mentioning about the first press American one is that it's actually mispressed in the sense that it has the wrong speed put on the label. in very, very small print it says 45 RPM, but this is actually meant to be played at 33 1/3 RPM. So later pressings of this actually corrected, such as the purple edition one, actually says 33 1/3 RPM. But as for the first run of this, has a misprint on it. So nothing too exciting about the packaging to this, but it is a very nice EP. You know, it has my favorite Ghost cover, which is If You Have Ghost. You know, what can I say? It's definitely, even though I don't listen to this EP as often as I do the albums, I think that it is a very nice little addition to throw in while we waited for a new Ghost album. Because, you know, Ghost, they take a long time with releasing new material, so it's nice that they threw in an EP in there. The EP itself is not too expensive. Usually sells for around $10, around there, so not too expensive to get. I definitely do recommend it to everyone. So yeah, that's If You Have Ghost by Ghost. Yeah, that is it for this part. I do hope you've enjoyed watching. If you have any questions on any of the pressings, feel free to ask me. I will respond. And so yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and take care. Goodbye.